Hi guys, today we are going to play with some neon pigment powder. Okay, now neons are one of those pigments that are notorious for bleeding into other colours, especially when they're too thin. So what we're going to do is find a way to thicken them up if your pouring medium is too thin, which I have in this little square bottle, some quite thin pouring medium. So what we're going to do is we'll start off with our yellow, because yellow bleeds the worst. It's like shocking. So what we'll do is use a generous amount of neon pigment powder. Now that's the Barnes Day Glow range. Awesome stuff. You can use whatever brand you like, it makes no difference, they're pretty much all the same. Alright, so we'll slap some Joyce in there to disperse it. Neons, because it's like a fine talc powder, can be a pain in the butt to mix in with your Joyce anyway. So it does take time. Another thing to remember is, if you're messing with pigments, always wear a dust mask. Because, one, you don't want to breathe all these airborne particles into your lungs and what have you. But also, if you drop that container and it launches all that pigment powder into the air and you get a really good deep breath of it, you're going to choke. So if you've ever had a cake or something like that with icing sugar on it and you've got a little bit too frisky and took a breath of it while you're trying to eat it and you go that's why. You've got that dry powder goes into your lungs. Any moisture that's in your lungs is going to absorb that and you're going to suffocate. So best to be extremely careful when using dried powder pigments. Alright, so that there is mixed in really nice. We're going to put in our pouring medium like we usually would. Give it a squirt. Neons, it doesn't really matter whether you do halfy or the whole lot in the one go. But what we'll do is just start it off at this. Now you'll see just how thin that is. Crazy thin. Way too thin for radial swipes, even blooms. To me, that's way too thin. Here's the trick. What you're going to do is, it doesn't matter what brand you get, whether it be Pebeo, Amsterdam, doesn't matter. Makes no difference. As long as it's a neon, that's the same color as your pigment powder, you're good to go. Start off, put a couple of little blobs in. Mix that in. So your tube paint is going to thicken that up for you. So it's already starting to get thicker. Right, add another couple of blobs in. Like that. Give it a good mix. Now it ain't going to change the colour of your pigment powder. It's going to be the same anyway. It's still neon yellow. But that's a lot thicker now. Just from a couple of blobs of tube paint. Alright, we'll add some more pouring medium in. Leave a gap at the top just in case you need to add more tube paint. Otherwise it'll overflow. Alright, mix that in. Yeah, that's a lot thicker now. If you want it that little bit thicker, once again, just add another blob of tube paint, like that. Just go a little bit at a time until you hit the consistency that you want to use. That's the easiest way. But any of your neon pigments that are thin, all tend to bleed. So this is the easy way, if you've got thin pourer medium, to thicken it up. Like that. Perfect. So you want to leave a trace on the surface, like that. Takes about 4 to 5 seconds to disappear. Perfect. So yeah, that's the easy way to thicken up your colours when they're too thin. So if your pourer medium's way too thin, pick a tube paint that's the same colour and you're good to go. You can do exactly the same thing with any other pigment powder. If you get a tube paint that is as close as humanly possible to the powder that you're using, you can always thicken it up that way. Another cool trick is, if you've got a very thin pillow paint, obviously depending on the colour, if you're using black or white as a pillow paint, it's real easy to thicken it up when it's too thin. You just grab a white tube paint, add little bits at a time, you can thicken it up. Won't hurt. It does exactly the same thing as adding a thicker pouring medium to it to thicken it up if you really wanted to. But yeah, that's a cool trick for pillow paint. I know a lot of people have problems with the Sherwin-Williams pillow paint being too thin. Add a bit of tube paint to it, it'll thicken it up. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you use your titanium white or what's the other one, zinc white. Zinc white's probably the easiest because it's sort of semi-transparent, zinc white, so you can actually thicken your white up and you're not overpowering the amount of titanium white that's in your colour. Not that it really matters because it's white. What we might do is, I'll see if I can find some thin pillow paint here and I'll show you how we thicken it up. Alright, typical, I don't have any. It's all the right consistency. So what we'll do is we'll cheat. Right, so this is our usual pillow paint. That's British Paint Slayer Sheen Interior Walls Clean and Protect. So that's quite thick as it is. It's good stuff. So I quite like it. Okay, let's just say we add some water to that. Mix that in. Mixy, mixy, mixy. Now, because it's a water-based paint, you can mix water to it and it will thin it out. So you can actually use that for a Dutch pour if you really wanted to. See how it's a lot thinner now? It's turned to like really, really thin Dutch pour type consistency. No good for a bloom. Way too thin. So what you can do is titanium white, doesn't matter what brand you use, whatever, it's all good. We'll give that, come on, fall out. Right, we'll add a blob of titanium white. Then just mix it in. It's one of the easiest ways to thicken up thin pillow paint. Unless you can get your hands on a interior. Here's the thing, right? Interior paints like we use for our poorer mediums, they're usually thin paints. If you go to an exterior paint, they're a lot thicker. Alright, so if you've got an untinted house paint that's an interior, it's a lot thinner than if you use an untinted exterior house paint. So it pays to look for an exterior untinted house paint, whether it be deep base, satin, whatever. It doesn't really matter. There we go. Thicken that right up just by adding some titanium white house paint, titanium tube paint. Super easy. Perfect. Now that you can use for a bloom. Radial swipe, whatever. It all still works. To show it does work, let's give it a go. Why not, he says. So yeah, if you've got problems with your pouring mediums being too thin, use an exterior clear house paint, because they're always thicker than interior. Alright, let's grab a tile. That's nice and thick now. Alright. What shall we do? Let's do a little radial swipe or something. Why not? Why not indeed? So, just add some colours. Go orange. Love neon orange. We'll go neon yellow. I like neons, believe it or not. Alright, neon yellow. What else do we have? Fancy blue. That's quite thick. That's one of Bubbles' really thick colours, this one. She loves her colours super thick for radial swipes. Me, I prefer them a little bit thinner than she does, but each to their own. Yes, that. Just picking random colours off the pile. That'll do. That'll do, he says. That'll do. Alright. So, wipe my hands because I've got covered in it. Select-A-Beta. Give that a bit of a stir. Always stir your Select-A-Beta before you use it, because the Aussie Floetrol that's in it always separates. If you're using just paint and water, it still separates, so always give it a good mix. Alright. like so. Then just give it time to do its thing. Take it slow. Let it sort of just chill, relax. Because what you're waiting for is surface tension to do its thing. You need the oils of this cell activator and the oils of the paint to react with each other so they open up. That's what gives you your cells. Alright. Pop some bubbles. I usually leave these for a couple of minutes. That way it definitely gives it a better chance to develop. The longer you leave it, the better. Obviously without going too overboard where you've left it until it's skinned. You don't want that. But you can see just how much more cells we've got from when we first did the swipe. That should be more than long enough. Right, we're going to give that a spin. Now, smaller pieces, spin them for longer because you've got to allow the weight of the paint to flow out. That's only moving really slow in the middle compared to the outside speed. So if that was a big piece, everything that's on the outside would take off like a rocket. The middle, because it's going a lot slower, doesn't move as much. Right, spin that out. Just let it do its thing, let it spin. And there we go, bada boom, bada bing. We had a really thin pillow paint that we've thickened up just using Amsterdam tube paint, and it still gave us amazing cells. How cool is that? So yeah, that's what I do when things are too thin. I prefer things on the thicker side. It definitely gives you better cells no matter what when you're using thicker stuff. Obviously there's a fine line between thick and oh my god, that's way too thick. It still needs to move. But if you go check for about a 4 second trace, when you drizzle back into your cup, you know that's roughly where you want to be. Now, a lot of people will tell you your pillow paint needs to be thicker than your colours. Mine never is. Mine's always either the same as what the colours are or thinner. So that's why my pillow paint can move real easy and the colours move slow. It gives you better cell definition, like that. Perfect little cells. So try a few different consistencies with your pillow paints and your paints. That way when you do test them, do it on small tiles like this. See what works best for you, whether a thinner pillow paint or a thicker pillow paint or the same consistency as your colours. Try a few different ones, see what works best for you. But me personally, I make all my colours either the same as my pillow paint or a little bit thicker. So, but yeah, give it a go. Alright guys, if you've got any questions, just message me. That way I can answer them as soon as humanly possible for you. Hopefully that has been some sort of help. Fingers crossed. And if you've got any other things that you want me to go through with you, just message. Put in a little comment in the chat or whatever. Just say, hey, Daz, I need help with this, and I can do a quick video on it for you. Alright guys, that is it from me. So have fun, take care, and go get messy.